Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
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 Hello, viewers. Bonjour. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. I am Phillip Sydney, your host. Today, our discussion surrounds the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurship Project. It's a project that was embraced by the Ministry of Agriculture for some maybe 8 years ago, and we need to know where it's at. A lot of work was done. A lot of young people are employed, and that was the objective of it. With me today to discuss this project is Adline Eudovique, who is the national coordinator for that project. Welcome to the program, madam.
Thank you.
Oh, well, you look so exquisite today.
Yeah? It's our national colors.
Your national colors.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk.
Okay.
Adline, tell us something about the project. Where is it now? I know a lot was done. I mean, there are lots of little constraints here and there, but give a little background. Some people don't know about the project. Tell us exactly the objective of the project.
Okay, perfect. This Youth Agri-Entrepreneurship Project, I'll shorten and say YEAP. That's how we call it at the ministry. It was formalized and conceptualized, let's say, to create employment for young persons. And also to have that enabling environment, create that enabling environment for young persons to come into agriculture and take it as a business.
Yes.
So we're looking at the creation of young entrepreneurs in agriculture. Also, we're looking to develop that kind of mindset where the persons could introduce and embrace new technology that's used in agriculture to move agriculture forward. We had problems with the age of our farmers. That's why we targeted the young persons.
Yeah, when you say problem with the age, what do you mean?
Well, the average age of a farmer in St. Lucia and the region is around 55 to 60 years. So we do have an aging population, among the farmers. And that is an impediment for introduction of technology and also for longevity of anything that we're planning as a ministry.
Well said.
Well said.
So
we're also looking at strengthening linkages between agriculture and tourism. We're looking at food import bill. We're looking at import substitution. So this project in itself is targeting many social problems and also governmental problems that we have as a nation.
Great.
Okay? So that was our main objective of this project.
When was this project conceptualized?
In 2010. But it got off the ground really with training and the participants being introduced in 2013. So this month, actually in March, right? So this month is 6 years since the project has been operational and the participants have been selected.
Okay.
The project was originally, we're supposed to have 2 phases for 150 young persons. We are still in phase 1 as we speak, where we have about half of that. So we have about 80 young persons right now.
Okay. Okay, tell us now, they were trained, they had proposals. Some of them got frustrated and they left, and now we are left about 80. With the 80 of those on board, where are they in terms of location?
Well, we have 2 modes of bringing in participants. We have those who are landless and those who had access to their own lands, be it their family lands or lease agreement with somebody else for land. So for those who had their private lands, that's what we call private lands.
Right.
So we have about 1/3 of the participants on private lands, and they are found all over the island, from Babono to Strozel to Vieux-Fort, and even Miku, all over the island. They are dispersed all over the island. So these participants, they'll engage under whatever enterprise on their own private land. But for government lands or lands that we are in charge of, we have 4 areas. We have Roseau, where we have approximately 28 acres in Roseau. We have Lacaille, where we have 100+ acres. We had 100+ acres. Later on, recently, we have decided as a ministry to move most of the land into bananas. So the different activities that we had proposed for that area, we had to move it to private lands and elsewhere.
Okay.
So Lakaye is still with us because we still have some participants there,
Right.
but these participants have been absorbed by the Banana Project.
Okay. Good.
That was part of the recommendations that we offered them when we saw that the land was changing the use.
Okay.
So we also have Boseju and Riverdori.
Okay.
Riverdori is our most diversified site,
Okay.
where you have the greenhouses, you have apiculture, that will be honey production, right, bees. You have all the different enterprises, all the different livestock enterprises that you could think of on that site
Okay.
in Boseju.
So the other areas, what enterprises do they have? Say Roseau.
Okay, Roseau is mainly open field, and we have aquaculture
Open
as
field
well.
vegetable
Oh,
production.
vegetable production.
Okay.
We wanted, initially we wanted to put in greenhouses there, but because of the flood-prone nature of that area, we had to opt out, but we advised against putting the greenhouses in that area.
Okay. And the greenhouses are now where in V4?
Some of them are on private lands. We have 5 in Vieux-Fort, 6 in Vieux-Fort, sorry, and 5 in Boseju.
Okay.
And the rest will be on private lands.
Give us some success stories. I know out of the 80 persons, I'm sure there are persons who are outstanding, you know, and they have really met the objectives of the project. Can you highlight some of those areas?
Well, we have so many persons in that area, but the person that comes most forward in my mind, can I mention names?
Yeah, man. Mention names, man. Mention
We
names.
have one participant in Denry in Lakaye. When things was really tough, that's Alwyn Jules. He really stuck it out. He went through a period when we couldn't get access. That was a hurdle. We had access to finances and so on. And he took a small loan from a family member, and he started his production. And now from what I heard and what I have seen, he has even built his own home.
Wow.
He's now able to expand his farm, and he's doing very well. He's a young person who thinks way advanced than his time. At one point, he went back to school. During the time when we had a little lull in the project, he went back to school. He went back to Sir Arthur Lewis, you know. So that's one person that we see, we keep our eyes on, that we know he will go very far. We also have some of these participants on private lands who have almost graduated from the project.
Okay.
We don't hear from them. The production is going on very smoothly. We have a guy called Ted Emmanuel in the south. He has his own, small ruminant unit. And these kind of persons, they have graduated. They don't call us anymore.
Wow.
We just have to just pinpoint or speak about them when we come in forums like that. Because they have graduated. You know, as an extension officer, we know we have done our job when the farmers don't say, I need this, I need that anymore. You know?
In the patois parlance, we say, c'est oui.
Oui. He has chapecoy. So that's what we are experiencing in certain areas. But what we see we might need for the other persons is more training.
Right.
We have some participants, some young ones who just came in the south. That would be on Riverdori area. And these participants, they move in. They're not sitting down.
Okay.
Yeah, they come on the project to see what they could do for themselves and to make the best of it.
But
yeah.
In terms of employment, I'm sure those persons will employ other persons with them on the farm. Is that happening?
Yes, and remember, that's the expectation of the project. Our target was to create, to reduce unemployment by creating employment.
Right.
The expectation is these persons will come in with a business where they themselves could employ others, right? We have been seeing such moves among our parties. For example, Alwyn, he employed 2 persons from the community, right? So that's a full-time employment for 2 other persons, right?
Okay, well, hold that spot. We'll do for our first break.
Okay.
You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
Bio means life. Biodiversity is the variety of life all around us. All plants, animals, and microbes, and the places where they live. We need to protect biodiversity so that we can continue to enjoy all the resources it provides. Fresh air, clean water, food, clothing, shelter, and recreation. Biosafety ensures that we protect biodiversity against any negative impacts of GMOs while using it safely for national development.
For more information on the Biosafety Project and how you can be involved, Call 451-8746 or 722-9252. Log on to lc.biosafetyclearinghouse.net or join the mailing list SLU Biosafety at govt.lc.
Welcome back to the program. We are talking about the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurship Program. And of course, with me is the National Coordinator, Ms. Eudovique. We spoke about, okay, now the project is up and running. Okay, farmers are seeing success. People are being employed, which was the main objective. We spoke about government lands. We spoke about private lands. But when the project began, obviously, to get to where it's at now, finance was required. Okay, who financed? Who are your collaborants in that project?
Our main collaborant will be CDF. That will be Curriculum Development Fund. Okay. So this project is a Curriculum Development Fund project with co-funding from the government of St. Lucia. That's why I'm here. Right. I'm a government employee. Correct. So CDF sponsored this project. It was a grant. It was signed as a grant. But the understanding was if this project is not successful, there's also a clause in that project. If that project is not successful, the grant becomes a loan. But anyway, we're trying our best to make sure it succeeds, and that will not be a next loan on the backs of St. Lucians. Right? So CDF granted the government of St. Lucia the use of 1.37 million US dollars. That would be just about 3.7 million EC for this project. But mind you, that was for direct purchases like the tractors, the greenhouses, the different farm machinery that was required, the livestock infrastructure, the materials for the livestock, pens and so on. All that was obtained directly from CDF, so the direct purchases. So it was like this kinds of expenditure. It was handled directly from CDF.
And what was the government's contribution?
Well, the government contribution was just about $500,000 EC. Yes. And that was in the initial phases for the aquaculture ponds, for digging of ponds, for the road. Some roads we had to resurface some roads, like grading and so on. We had to do some pump house repairs. There are a lot of different activities that was done under that funds.
But when it comes to the marketing of those commodities that you mentioned coming from the farmers, was there something streamlined? It was organized with the, say, marketing board and the other agencies that they got a market almost instantly for their produce?
For most of the participants, the onus was on them to get their own marketing arrangements, and that worked out well for them. Like if you're going into like broiler production, they had to contact the processors and secure their own contracts. And most of them who are in production have already done that. We have two who came in for layers. And these, it was an issue because we were already self-sufficient, but they already had their contracts when they came in. So it's a matter of they needed more space for expansion and so on, so we got that under the project.
So that's egg?
That's eggs, yeah.
And broilers?
But broilers, yes. We had both broilers and layers. So for those, for the broilers, they had to secure their contracts, likewise for those for the layers.
What were your involvement technically? I mean, the support from the beginning, they were trained, yes, but you had to carry them through. I mean, what was the mechanism you used? Was it via extension?
Well, extension is heavily involved. Up to today, extension is still involved in the project because I am coming from extension, right? And the North coordinator and the South coordinator on the project right now are extension officers. But in areas where we have to really do our full penetration, we work very closely with the Chief Extension Officer, that's Mr. Jabatis, and also the different heads of the different regions. So extension is integrally involved in the whole project.
But in terms of livestock?
Oh, yes. We work very closely with the livestock department. The officers are on board with us. When we go out, we don't go out without them. To do our field visits, to do our monitoring of the different construction. Even now we're doing the biogas digester in Riverdore. That's one of our environmental health concerns, to make sure that the project is up to par in terms of the standards that are out there, right? So livestock is involved, engineering is involved.
So there are additional infrastructure in addition to equipment given?
Yes, definitely. in areas like Roseau, Riverdore, Bossejou, we had to build pump houses. We provide them the irrigation for the fields, for the greenhouses as well. We had to do storage facilities because I mentioned we had some tractors and so on. So we have to make sure that these tractors are housed properly and are kept in the best so that they will have a long-term use.
How is the formula for the tractors for use? Where are they based?
Well, the tractors are based in the south. And we have one or two in Lakaye. But the tractors have been managed and handled by engineering department. So you see that collaboration with different units. We also collaborating with environmental health. And well, we talk about financing as well. That financing is a must for these kinds of projects. So we have collaboration with SLDB as well. That was also a problem we had before. But now we have ironed out most of these issues. Okay.
So they can get a loan without any what do you call it? Guarantors and things. So how is that worked?
No, it's a regular loan, but the conditions are more lenient for accessing these loans.
Oh boy, long overdue.
Yes, and very welcome.
Yeah.
Now I think that as we had this new facility now, it's really moving forward and really nicely right now. So although we have some other participants who still can't meet the requirements, like one guarantor, just one.
Wow.
But then the interest rate is very attractive, 5%, you know. So we struck a good deal with SLDB.
But are they monitoring the system well in terms of ensuring there's a hand-in-glove approach between the extension and the officer from the bank to ensure that production is monitored and sale is monitored and of course payments are made? How is that worked out?
Actually the payments, we have no defaults on the loan so far. All the participants are paying in to the loan. So I think that the monitoring is working, and yes, monitoring is part of it.
Because to me that's what they needed to do years ago. You know, one of the things I think they did, and it, I mean, we are all human beings, you know. You know, we want a loan for $20,000, and if you give me $20,000 straight off, you can answer what's going to happen. But if it's monitored and is given in phases, I think it can work out.
And that was a hurdle. And you remember young persons coming in the market, they don't have access to money and so on. And that's something that we saw that was a setback, and then we try to work around it.
There was a thing like a mentoring component of it. Did it work out?
It didn't work out as we expected, I must say. That's one area of the project that didn't work out as well as we expected.
Why?
I think the delays in the project caused everything to be pushed back. Right, so that was one of them that we know that was important, the mentorship. The participants on their own are working with mentors, but it's not organized through the project. You know, so we cannot take the credit for it, the full credit. It's something that we told them that they understood the importance of, but from the ministry end, we never had the time, because remember, it's a small team, myself and 2 coordinators, and we have a lot of work. Our work is really cut out for us, so it's a bit tough to do everything, you know, in the set time.
You all didn't see the need to bring those young people together to form themselves into a group, you know, and to ensure, for example, in the purchasing of inputs, they can. Did it occur to you all?
It occurred to us. We wanted to form a youth cooperative where these persons will come together, as you said, to access funding, to access, to buy, to do bulk purchases and what have you. At the time, the steering committee of the project objected against it. They said they had strong opposition against that. The idea was, and I mean, I could see what they're saying, but I still feel that the participants should have their own cooperative.
Hold that point, because I think it's very important. We'll come back to it. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMO GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Welcome back to the program. Before the break, we were talking about, getting the groups together, the farmers together to form a group, because we know the advantages of having cooperatives, right? Continue where you left out.
Okay. I was trying to give the rationale for the steering committee at the time for requesting that the farmers that we have form part of the existing cooperatives. The general consensus was that the existing cooperatives, some of them do have issues, but they will benefit from the injection of young persons in the cooperatives, right? So the understanding would be that the young persons will join their respective cooperatives. So if you're in swine production, you'll join the pig cooperatives, for example, right? If you're in, and it goes on, right? So that was the idea. But the young persons voiced very strongly against it. They said that they want to form their own cooperative,
I
So
completely agree.
even recently we had a meeting with the director of cooperatives and we've seen how we could move ahead with that idea and to see where it takes them.
I agree, because the existing cooperatives have their set ideas, and you're dealing with, like you say, the older ones. The new ones coming in, they have new ideas, so let them explore. And I think that's the way to go.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving forward, I'm sure you did not get there without little bottlenecks. Tell us some of the constraints, the major ones. Although I know there are many, but
Yes.
some of the major ones.
We have a long list of constraints. I think we had a change in the project scope from the beginning. That was one change. We've had 5 coordinators on the project.
Wow.
That's a next constraint. I am the 5th coordinator.
Okay.
A next constraint that we have when it comes to counterpart funding, from since 2016, we haven't been given our share from the budget.
Okay.
So we've gotten lots of, we have to find creative ways to move around every constraint that we face with.
That's
So
funding coming from
the government, yes.
And that does not come to pass?
No, not for the past 3 years.
Okay.
So we've gotten assistance from Propel, from the Taiwanese government for training and for also for some small inputs and like ground cover and so on, So we got that as kind of assistance. But Propel came aboard for assistance, for catering, for trainings, and for payment of facilitators and so on.
Right.
So we got some good assistance from these other friendly governments and societies. Yeah. So we're doing the best with what we have, right? Now, a next constraint that we still have, and that's a big issue for us, is our contracts. We need to get our land lists finalized from Invest St. Lucia.
Right.
And we've made several appeals to Invest St. Lucia to finalize the land, our land list. That's for the 2 pieces in the south, Boseju, where we have a question mark over because of DSH is right next door to where we are.
Correct.
And if Riverdori, we have some issues where we need to get our land, the land lease agreement finalized because there are other pressures for the land use in that area.
So the land lease, you're looking at what? The land to be leased to who?
To us, to the ministry.
To the ministry.
To the ministry. So that we in turn could give the participants their lease, where they could go to the banks, what have you, for,
small loan and
small
stuff
loan
like
on their own, outside of what we offer, because what we offer, obviously it has a ceiling, right? So they cannot go beyond that. So if you want to go beyond that in terms of expansion or requiring more money, you have to go to some other lending facility.
Okay.
Yeah. But speaking of that, we had a constraint where the participants needed to know that they are business persons, not just by what they're doing, but by having a how do you call it? From SEDO, when you register, registration of companies and so on. So we got assistance from SEDU,
Okay.
the lawyers there, and we registered companies for over 40 participants.
Okay.
Yes, that's a
What age group are you dealing with, by the way?
Okay, for what we consider youth for this project is between 18 and 35.
Okay.
But as you would imagine, since we started over 6 years ago, some of the participants are well over that age, because some of them were on the periphery of, 35 years, they're about on the border of 55.
Okay.
So we have those in the 40s now.
All right.
And part of the agreement we had for some areas, especially in the south, they already had persons on the lands.
Right.
So we had to incorporate these persons
Beautiful.
into the project.
Yes,
Right. So
yes.
we have some older
Do you
persons.
think that the selection process was the right process in terms of the selection of the present crop of farmers that you have?
Well, like anything else, everything is a learning process. Remember, this is the first project of its kind in the Caribbean. So that this project is a pilot project. And the other islands are looking at us to see what we did wrong and what we did right and what they could learn and so on. So we have a lot of lessons learned.
Okay.
I sometimes when I sit back and I think, I say, no, we could have done it better.
All right.
But as I said, we had some understanding where we had to incorporate those who were there already and so on, right?
Yes.
And one of our focus at the time was reduction of unemployment.
Right.
So part of the criteria for coming in is that you had to be unemployed, right? So even somebody out there who might have a good idea or have the zeal or the energy or what have you for that, but because they were employed at the time,
They could not be
part of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But we do have some persons who are showing the same dependency syndrome, and I think that as time passes with education and more meetings and training, we have to have this person to understand that the opportunity given to them from getting all the materials for your livestock enterprise, from the nails, the guttering, everything you need. The labor was theirs. The sweat equity would have been the participants' input, right?
Very
But
good,
everything
very good.
else would have been from the ministries.
Phase 2 of the project. Is there a phase 2? Well, will there be a phase 2?
I'm hoping that we will have a phase 2,
Okay.
because this project, we cannot say just end abruptly,
Correct.
because we have issues that will still linger, like the loans at SLDB, the land issues, different things that will still linger. So I don't know if we will get approval for phase 2. I guess when the assessment is done to see if it's if it was done successfully, let's say, that we'll have to have a sit down to see what we could do differently and hopefully move forward in phase 2, because this project, it can and it should continue in some way.
Final words from you.
My final words will be, don't forget the youth. They have lots of young persons out there, even those who are out of this project, who have ideas of things to be done. I think as a nation, we should rally around these young persons and see how we could help them move from one phase to the other, because they are truly our future. Definitely. I used to hear that before when I was way younger, but now I know for sure. Yes, it's true.
Being involved in
it.
Yes,
being involved in it, that
and
young person.
You want to big up your staff, of course.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. I mean, I want to say that this project, the success that we have been enjoying, let's say, will not have been possible without the hard works of Kema Prophet, that's our North coordinator, and Firmin Lafay, our South coordinator. And also those who have gone before us, from the coordinators like Mr. Compton, Dr. Jaria, and also Terence Shalmine. Terence put a lot of work into that project. And we have to say thank you from our end for all these persons, and not forgetting Phil's Ways and the extension team. Yes, especially Mr. Jabatis.
Adeline, you come to the end, You see how quickly I told you that?
Yeah, okay.
I want to thank you for being here.
All right.
I want to thank you for the explanation. I think people need to know where we are, because the project is a very important project. So I wish you success and hope we get a second phase.
Thank you. Okay? Thank you very much.
You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing people. Young people, all is not lost. We'll come back to you again, because I want to be on the field to actually show you some of the success stories. I'm Phillip Sydney saying goodbye and see you again. Yeah, man,
Thank you.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.